There.
Perfect.
Well, hello there. Welcome back to the show. Back because they left.
Right, they left for a while.
They went somewhere else. This didn't just keep going.
Yeah.
You know, on a thing. You know how podcasts go, they just go to the next one, right?
Right.
So they just listened to my wasty, timey intro song.
Perfect.
And now I've got a guest. He's already been talking, but you don't know who it is.
Oh, yeah.
You're talking already. I haven't introduced you.
Should I have not spoken yet?
I don't think there are any kind of parameters on these podcasts. You want to know why?
Why?
They're free.
Exactly.
No, there isn't we could drag this out forever. I don't have a sponsor.
Right.
There isn't an ad that's running. Nobody's going to be bummed if we just keep talking about nothing. Yeah. And see, while we're doing this, the suspense is building.
They're wondering where you are, who I am.
There's 3 listeners that are listening to this, me and you, and then somebody else.
Right. Probably my wife.
And my suspense as a listener is already building.
Yes.
Because I'm thinking, I don't know, who is this person that I'm interviewing?
Who would Merkley interview?
Yeah, who would I interview?
It'd have to be someone super interesting, of course.
And am I interviewing? That's the other question still, too, is I think this isn't really an interview. It's a conversation. It's called the opinion machine.
Right.
You're an opinion machine. I'm an opinion machine.
Right.
A lot of times in life, it's polite to not have an opinion.
Yes.
I think a lot of people go through life not having an opinion.
Or not having it and not
expressing it.
I fall in that camp sometimes.
I think you do.
Yes.
I think you
have
do.
Them, but
you're a very polite person. But let's talk about my opinion about you.
Okay.
Really quick, before we haven't even introduced you.
Yeah, that's even better.
I've known a lot of musicians in my life. Many, not as many as some, but more than most. Right?
That makes sense.
Probably.
Yeah, especially with what you do.
And I was thinking about this on the way over here. I think you are, I'm pretty sure you're the most talented of all the composers I know.
Good Lord.
Easy. Like, I think that's a pretty simple thing. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
And for people that don't know who this is John Hancock. And that's his real name. And he really did sign the Declaration of Independence.
It's true.
How many years old are you now?
I stopped counting at least 50 years ago. 52 years ago, to be exact.
That's when you stopped counting, okay.
Yeah.
No, John is one of the masterminds, I guess, behind Late Night Alumni, which is a group that is more famous in the Philippines than anywhere else. Is that true?
I wouldn't say Taiwan, we have a very big market.
But you guys are huge in certain circles, and the EDM scene, you're pretty big too, because you're on Cascade's record label, and your music is better than any of that stuff. The EDM stuff is what I'm saying.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been around long enough to have some quote-unquote, air quoting I'm doing, classic dance songs that go back to, we were just talking about it, 2003, our first song came out. So, yeah. It's been long enough to kind of seep into a generation, I think.
And you just had a new album come out.
We did, just a couple weeks ago.
This part seems like an interview, doesn't it?
A little more.
Because now it seems like I got some cards here and I'm trying to get your plugs out.
Well,
but actually, I really do want to know about it because I haven't listened to it yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I haven't. I saw that you posted it, but I just haven't gotten around to listening to it yet.
There's so much music coming out now.
Do you like it?
It's a fire hose of music these days.
Do
I like our album?
Yeah, the new one.
I'm really, yes, I like it a lot because we just wrote songs we liked and put them out. And it wasn't until the end we're like, oh, a lot of this isn't very dance.
Yeah.
A lot of it is slower or mid-tempo stuff and just fun grooves that
Which I think is fine. Like, honestly, I like the
we
dance
love
stuff.
It. I mean, Late Night Alumni has never been a true dance hit other than a couple of songs that were kind of in I don't even know if deep house, chill house kind of world.
Yeah.
We're an anomaly, and we're super comfortable with that.
Do EDM people get upset when there isn't a drum? Why would they? They like love songs just like everybody else.
I think that would be a question for the more DJ-centric people around us, like Cascade, he talks about that a lot, that, certain fans show up and they don't know where the drop is. That's a conversation. But I don't think anybody's surprised if they know Light Night Alumni. No one's expecting a drop. They're probably more surprised by a drop from us.
And you're also talking about a live performance where they're accustomed to a certain type of show. And I've said this about the EDM crowd. Mostly, a lot of that music is just, hey, look, I have a functioning vagina. The other guys are, I have a functioning penis. Let's move our bodies around and dance and breed. We got a certain drum beat that is similar to the beat of sex. And so let's just demonstrate our sexual prowess next to each other while we get sweaty and smell each other's pheromones. And then
crack the code.
And then EDM is kind of like the soundtrack for that.
Right.
It's essentially pre-porn music.
That makes sense.
It's the preamble to the porn music.
That makes sense.
It's breeding music. It's mating music. Kind of, right?
Yeah, on the most tribal level, probably. Yeah.
But it's not it's not like dance by yourself. The thing about, I guess EDM breaks up into different categories, doesn't it?
Thousands of them now. It's hard to even keep track.
What would be your subgenre? Late night.
We've asked fans that, and we can't get a straight answer. We don't know. It's chill. It's kind of house music, a lot of it, but
it's pretty.
We'll break into some jazzy brush drum thing.
It's pretty.
We don't think about it that much.
It's moody. It's actually got good lyrics. It's basically, you guys are kind of cheating in a way, I think.
Yeah.
You're basically just putting basic good old songwriting and composition on top of an EDM beat because you got a good in there.
Thank you. I mean, which I think is probably why we've had a harder time breaking maybe bigger than we have, especially in the live performance thing, because clubs don't know what to do with us.
Yeah.
They book us as a dance act, but then we show up and we have dance-ish songs. I'm air quoting a lot here, but it's not a DJ who's going to be like, okay, I'm going to play the first half of this song and then go to another song for a half of that song. We play the song all the way through, and sometimes the song actually ends and people applaud like at a concert. And so it can be a little confusing, I think, for some.
And you're
clubs.
kind of in that with the record label, in which is your whole background. You're kind of in there, so, and that's a really self-contained world, isn't it?
Yeah, it has its own parameters, definitely, even if they're not written out, I think. But that's why we're always kind of dancing around the edge of that.
Like, I mean, you could think of it as a way, like, what if Bob Dylan somehow got his first start in the ska music scene?
Exactly.
And suddenly all of his songs had that ska rhythm because the machine was set up to support that rhythm.
Yeah, for
Yet
sure.
the songs are the same with or without it. I mean, a song is a song.
Yes.
A good song can translate into any genre, is what I think.
And our songs we can play just on a piano. And in fact, some of the most fun shows we've done are just these little tiny things for fans where I'm just sitting at a keyboard or maybe a guitar, and we just come up with like pretty jazzy versions of our songs and play them live. We love that. I
would guess that, and I've been to backstage to a bunch of your shows, it seems to me like your real hardcore fans really love the song part of it most.
I agree.
They love the emotional content of the productions, the lyrical content and stuff like that. So, because EDM doesn't need a song.
Right.
It doesn't need a song. You need a beat and a drop, and you need to demonstrate your sexual moves. You need a backdrop for that.
Sometimes a simple vocal hook, even if it's just one line, one phrase repeated here and there.
Especially if it is along the lines of how to hook up and breed.
Yes.
If there is if there's a breeding element to it, like, oh, baby got a nice butt.
Yes. Thank you.
Something a little bit.
That you have heard the new album.
Oh, yeah. Oh, baby got a nice butt.
Baby got a nice butt.
Most of the songs are basically that. But
it's true.
When did you start? You a little bit of background. I've known you for how long? Let's think how long we've known each other.
I was trying to remember the first time I met you, and I don't have like a distinct "Hello, I am John.
Yeah.
You are Merkley" moment.
It's been probably
early 90s.
Yeah, I was in my early 20s at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
We're
You were
about
in a
the same
band
age.
called Basic Language. I was in a band called Swim Herschel Swim.
Right.
And, but I'm trying to think of how you came on the radar. And I think it might have been more in the, when it came to mastering a Swim Herschel Swim record, I think, or mixing.
I don't think I did anything on Swim stuff
I know you
at
didn't,
all.
but I think you might have. I either met you through Mike Ross Kelly, or Mike Ross Kelly came as a recommendation from you.
Maybe. And was Corey involved?
Maybe
with
Corey
that
had
at all?
something to do with it. I don't know.
I don't remember.
But yeah, a long time. And you've
Long
always
time.
had a lot of talent. You've always been like, as far as, that's what I kind of want to talk about more. Because here's my opinion about you again. This is another opinion that I have about you.
Okay.
You're not bound to this.
Okay.
But I think out of all the musicians I know, you should be the wealthiest.
I don't know how to make the sound of blushing cringing.
No, but I
But
mean, really.
thank you.
And I'm not saying you're not wealthy. You're doing well. You got a nice life, family, beautiful house, blah, blah, blah.
Thank you.
But to me, with the music, the scoring stuff, and you do, it seems like you should be scoring big films, producing big things. Why isn't that? Why aren't you?
That's a great question. That's a different kind of interview question than people usually get. Why aren't you doing better?
No, I'm
No, but I know what you
serious,
mean.
though.
I know what you mean.
I know you've been to the Grammys. I know. Did you win a Grammy?
Some stuff I worked on related to Cascade was nominated
Yeah.
for Grammy. Yeah, but I got to go, which was really fun.
See, I know why I'm not famous. Because I avoid the things that make people famous.
Yeah.
And whenever I get to a place where it seems like that's happening, I sabotage the whole thing.
Yes.
I quit, I
I've
turn it
seen
upside
that.
down, light it on fire,
I've seen
and say,
that,
fuck
yes.
that. You know? But you seem to keep plodding along, and sometimes I think it might be because of your non-expressiveness of your opinion.
Could be. I'm a terrible self-promoter. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I'm really, yeah. My mom is always saying, "You're too humble about these things." And I've always, one piece of advice, I couldn't tell you who gave it to me early on that I wish that I wouldn't give anybody now, is if you do good work, that's all it takes. Like, if you do good work, the rest will follow. But I don't think that's true.
No, it isn't true.
I think that's only half of it. The other is you've got to be self-promoted. We all know people who aren't that great at something, but man, they're just really good at making things happen and constantly on the phone with people and hustling.
Sometimes a good thing will get sprung
Totally.
forward, you know.
You can put those things together, but I'd never developed that. I just had I'm just going to do good work and these things will happen. And it has, obviously. I've been able to do this for over 25 years now, but I know and appreciate what you're saying. And I'm still trying to figure out that hustle and figure out how to make that happen.
Well, I mean, it's certainly not a criticism either, because honestly, there's nobody more critical of fame and all that stuff than me. I personally look at most people that rise to that level, and I just think their priorities are probably a little out of whack.
Yeah, I don't really want that. I mean, I love touring, but it's more of the fun of the travel and the excitement of being on stage. But it's never they're looking at me.
Yeah.
These people like me. It's more like, oh, they like what I made.
Yeah.
And they came out, and I'm really grateful, and it's super cool, and I'm,
I mean, that is pretty cool when you see a whole huge crowd of people singing.
Huge crowd.
Singing your songs with smiles on their faces.
I just posted a flashback Friday today of our first show in Taiwan, and thousands of people on the other side of the world singing along.
That's kind of weird too, huh?
Yeah, and it was really amazing. They were so great to us, and it was just nothing but gratitude. There was no sense of fame. It was more, wow, I made something with my friends in our basements years ago.
And it connected with a bunch of people.
On the other side of the world, yeah.
And yet, also within that machine, even when that happens, there's a label behind it, somebody pushing. But when it sprouts up in another country, that's kind of a weird thing, because you can't blame it on the record company.
A little bit, because the record companies over there, we're also connected now. This is also obviously the only thing could have happened in the era we're in.
Turn your microphone the other way.
I've been talking.
Does that
this
sound
way
better?
the whole
Did
time.
everybody just notice the difference?
The button. What's funny is your record button
I
was
had
up
it
here.
upside down. Yeah.
Yeah, so I just held
handed
it
it
that
to you
way.
the wrong
Sorry,
way.
everyone.
Did all of a sudden John Hancock's voice become more boomy? He was holding the microphone.
I was holding. That's my super technical.
It's a
abilities
regular
right there.
microphone, and he was holding it upside down.
Yeah, exactly. I was spinning it around my head
He thought
at
that
the
would
same
work.
time.
He's an experimental producer.
Right. I didn't want to scare anyone.
Anyway, back to Taiwan. So how did they have their
Record label over there. It's called High Note Records. Just
a different label?
a different label. And
Your
actually
label-
the label, yeah, and that they do that a lot. Labels will just work out a licensing deal with each other, reached out to our label, and they are the ones who actually, promoted our music in Asia,
Yeah.
including printing CDs and things sometimes we weren't even doing in the States. So we were really shocked to get over there and their posters of Becky at restaurants.
Oh,
And-
really?
Yeah, and they were like selling CDs. Like it was
So
really
in other words, they're a label on the ground doing some hard work.
doing hard work and promoting Late Night Alumni, because they were selling the record and working out whatever deal they had then.
So, we've known each other long enough to know when, well, I can only speak for myself, but I remember I was much more, not jaded, but self-entitled when I was young, and I kind of sneered down my
Who
nose at
isn't?
labels, fuck labels,
Yeah,
fuck
yeah.
this,
Yeah.
fuck, and the older I get, the more I realize, they make too much money, they're fucking stealing from the artist, man.
Right.
But then I realized that really, even if your shit is really good, when it gets ubiquitous like that, it takes a team, a big team to
A huge
make
team.
it happen, to
Yeah.
put the posters in the restaurants, to do all that stuff. And if you don't have those people, then it doesn't get done. You're just a guy making podcasts in his bedroom.
Yeah, and the thing is a person can now distribute and do
Yeah.
it all themselves, but so can everybody else now.
So can everybody
So
else,
it's like,
exactly.
yes, you can put your stuff out now without a label, and it will get on all the platforms you need. Just these companies like CD Baby and there's like a dozen others like that will get it out there. But so is everybody else. So now you're screaming even louder, I think, to be heard now over the masses, not to get some label to pay attention
because now
to you.
the responsibility that used to be the label would take it up thanklessly, except
Yeah.
for its money.
Yeah.
You don't hear many people talking about the greatest record label of all time.
Yeah, not
You
very
know,
much.
You don't see. Do they even give it a Grammy for the greatest record label?
No.
It seems kind of weird that they don't, right?
Right.
Like I guess they do the RIAA. Who's that?
I mean,
They probably give awards for that shit.
yeah, and they're sharing in whatever gold records and stuff we used to do more of.
Yeah.
For sure.
But my arrogance and has subsided on all that stuff, because I realized, no, that's a legitimate thing. Marketing, getting it out there. I mean, and they push a lot of crap that rises, but the thing is, the difference is they will also push good shit, and the good shit goes everywhere.
Yeah. They want success.
Do you know what I'm talking
Whatever
about,
that
though? I kind of struggle with this idea, too. Back in the old days, we were all fed a bunch of music, right?
Yes.
And we all learned it, because we all learned it from pop radio. So we all knew the same song.
Right.
And we could all sing it. Now the world has splintered into so many different directions. Everybody can have their own. It's like a restaurant. You order your own thing. And there isn't any longer this thing where everybody knows a song.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that
it's
good
very
or bad?
splintered. I don't know. What was it? I think it was one of those Onion articles says Spotify is now happy to announce one artist for every listener.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
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 The long tail and the specialization, the niches have become so small. And I'm wondering, is that good? Because I'm an individualist, so it seems good to
Yeah.
me. But at the same time, that magic of the whole world all knowing a song at the same time, and you can't deny that.
Right. And I know exactly what you're saying, because there's a collectiveness to that.
And it's kind of creepy. That's why I don't have a fully. I can argue both sides of this, because when those moments when you're in a crowd and everybody's singing the same lyric and you get the hair stand up on the back of your neck,
Yeah.
and you go, wait, isn't this how Nazi Germany worked.
Or big religious cults or anything.
Exactly.
But it speaks to, I mean, that's still here now. Like, I literally just a few minutes ago watched a live stream of Deadmau5 in his big electronic cube at Creamsfield. And it was, everyone's there for this moment and staring at this monolith.
Yeah.
He was barely there. I mean, he was there, but he was mostly hiding inside the cube. And it was, and I think we just have something in us that wants, or for most people, really want to be part of this big thing and a big moment. And it's a big part of electronic music.
It's primal.
Yeah.
It's probably a nationalist, kind of tribal, just it's army, military safety.
It definitely is. These fans of certain artists are definitely fall into a camp, and they follow each other and go to certain things, and they create communities around it.
Yeah.
And generally, it's all been really, really positive. Cascade has a whole team of people that it's called Cascade Connect, and it's like a social thing where they're all together, and it's super positive, and it makes a lot of people very happy. So how can you have anything too much against something like that?
Exactly. I mean, I can think of something.
Yeah.
Jim Jones.
Right as I said that, I'm
Jim
like,
Jones comes to mind,
There's good ones.
If somebody becomes the figurehead for something like that, and things can go. I'm sure Jim Jones was thinking positive things as he got all those people together, and they probably had some wonderful meetings where they sang some beautiful songs that guys like me and you wrote,
right?
And next thing you know,
would have DJs.
Next thing you know, they're all bloated out in the sun, because they drink Kool-Aid.
Exactly.
Because they trusted the dude because of all the beautiful songs he wrote.
Which, on a side note, have you noticed how many people use that term, drink the Kool-Aid? But they don't know this Jim Jones story.
Yeah.
It's just become a term, but it's like, do you guys know what this means? I mean, you're not using it wrong, but
for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, those images of people bloated in the sun,
bloated out with their arms around their kids.
Oh gosh, that was just crazy. But I mean, all this stuff has elements to that.
Yeah.
I just made a podcast where I'm, the yin and yang of all these things. That's kind of what, as I get older, I'm realizing that's why my disdain for the business side and the capitalists and the money grubbing record labels is kind of subsided, because I'm realizing there's value there. Maybe it's hard. You start to realize value in structure. Like, it might even be valuable that we all know the same shitty songs.
Yeah.
Like, it might even be valuable that we all hate Kesha. It might be valuable that she was crammed down our throats. Everybody hated it, but they kept cramming it down our throats regardless. And at a certain point you say, okay, you relent, you soften up your esophagus, you loosen it up, and you just allow them to insert Kesha down your throat. And then suddenly 10 years goes by and that song comes on, and there's this weird nostalgia that isn't even that bad.
Yeah, things become ironic after a while, and then it's fun to bring up Spice Girls or whatever you were into.
Because it triggers a memory.
Yeah, whatever you were into the 90s or 2000s
And maybe triggering a mass memory is good. Maybe when you're at the park and Kesha comes on 10 years from now, and you all equally look at each other and go, oh, remember this bullshit?
Yeah.
Remember this fucking Poker
usually
Face
I
song?
find myself more like, oh, turn that up, that's funny.
Yeah. And you know what? What's your opinion about liking things ironically?
It's short-lived. Like, it's nothing you can do too much of. You can't sit and listen to something ironically for hours and hours like you can listen to something you love.
Yeah.
Ironically.
I went and saw Loverboy the other night. A friend of mine was working the show. He does backline for these bands that are now touring around, these old bands that are realizing they can cash in on their old fans.
Sure.
And why not?
Which, by the way, I have no problem with that.
I'm saying that cynically, but I mean, literally at the show, I was going, look at these people. They loved it back then.
Believe me, the young bands are cashing in, too.
Yeah, I have
Everybody's
no problem.
cashing in.
That's another thing that 10 years ago I would have said, that's embarrassing. Come on, guys.
Yeah.
Hang it up already.
Yeah, it's like, give up what you love and the million people who love what you do.
Yeah.
Because I think it's silly.
But I didn't like Loverboy back then. So I did I'm thinking, did I enjoy it ironically? No, I enjoyed the triggers of the memories and the things that it brought back, even though most of the people who liked Loverboy back in the day were kind of assholes that wanted to give me a new waiver. They're the ones that called me a faggot.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But they liked Loverboy.
Yeah. Yeah. They liked Loverboy. Exactly. And Freddie Mercury. And the gay guy from, was it Iron Maiden or Judas Priest?
Yeah, Judas
Rob
Priest.
Halford.
Yeah.
They're worshiping these gay guys.
Right.
Meanwhile, calling me a faggot because they're
Right.
wearing pink socks and white shoes.
Yeah.
Dressed like Duran Duran.
Or like when we would have, well, I don't know if you did, but I had like a mullet in the 80s. But that was new wavy, right? It wasn't trucks, that was not a trucker thing at all.
No, it was...
It was like new wavy. So I had that. So I was
had it
called
too.
like preppy whatever. Yeah.
Well, I had basically, up for the first 3 albums, I had the exact same hairdos. Before they came out of Roland Orzabal, he and I always had the same haircut. But I already had it by the time his album came out.
His solo album? You're talking about just Tears for Fears?
Tears for Fears.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm just thinking of his wavy, kind of longish.
His first one was in new wave, shaved around the back, long in the front.
Oh,
and
yeah,
then
yeah.
in the second one, he had tight to the side. He basically had a mullet. He had what is now known as a baseball mullet. But it was cool as fuck.
That was
back
edgy.
Then.
Back then. Yeah.
And then he had the third one was a big bob, kind of going for the 60s. Whatever. And I always matched. We always had the same haircut. And I wasn't copying him. It's just that the albums came out and I was like, hey, he's got the same haircut as me. Once again. Yeah.
That's funny.
Okay, but with the ironic music thing, I'm not so sure that ironic enjoyment is really a thing. I think enjoyment is just enjoyment.
I agree. Yeah, well, I think people will put on ironic so that they can not feel distance themselves. Yeah, so their friends can't make too much fun of them.
They're still attached to some kind of coolness. Well, I'm just liking it ironically. Fuck you. Just enjoy it.
Just enjoy it.
Just embrace it. Whatever it is you enjoy about it.
Okay, I think it goes back to what we're talking about, the tribalness, because, when I was young, a certain style of music you listened to was part of what defined you, like your haircut or your clothes.
Oh, yeah.
And I listened to this music.
Yep.
And so if I listen to that music, then I'm betraying my tribe or whatever it was. Yeah. But I remember my first records, this is going to date me so bad, but I'm like 11 or 12, and I bought, that's the other thing, who cares about that anymore? Yeah. I went out and bought music, like when you were buying cassettes and stuff. At the same time, I bought Queen, Another One Bites the Dust.
Yeah.
And Charlie Daniels' band, The Devil Went Down to Georgia.
2 of my favorites.
And I did not think anything about these are different.
No.
I would literally just put on the one.
They're music.
They're just music. And I'm like, this has a funny story about the devil playing the fiddle really well.
Great
11-year-old John thought this was super rad, but I turned around and then Another One Bites the Dust. I just played that over and over and over.
Okay, so
you didn't have any connection. I wasn't connecting to even other kids with that. I heard that. I reacted to it musically.
Well, that was kind of before the split up of genres anyway. Well, at least for kids our age, because you don't really get that tribal thought until you're 14 or 15.
Yeah, when your friends and the cool kid is doing X, Y, or Z, and so that's what you're going to do.
If you told a kid that they're trying to find their tribe, then they'd say, "No, I'm not. I'm just me."
Not. And if so, I'm the leader of that tribe.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But and I'm so glad, boy, it's so fun getting old when you don't have to care about that stuff anymore.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
all these bands that I had to hate.
Yeah.
That I nobody was making me hate them, but I was like, nah, fuck Loverboy, fuck Journey, fuck all this stuff,
Right.
Now I can go back and just fucking enjoy it and go, this is some good shit.
Yeah.
Some of it's bad, though. Man,
some of it's bad.
What was I listening to the other day? Oh, God. It's on the radio. There's some stuff that's just like, this is terrible.
There was some, yeah. There's been a lot that got very famous.
That's just, and that's kind of it's so smug to say that, but I was talking about stuff with lyrics that are just so no thought went into them.
Right.
Nothing. It's just farting out exactly.
Bad power ballads in the 80s. There was a lot of bad.
Oh, just some of it's just so awful, and I'm just thinking, I can't even enjoy this ironically. But at the same time, I do weirdly enjoy stuff that I hate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like in this way where it's contrasting against the stuff that I like.
Right.
So, do you get that feeling when you're listening to something? Do you ever get weird feelings when you, like angry feelings when you're listening to music that you hate?
No. If anything, I just tune it out. I'm very good at tune. I'm just surrounded by constantly hearing music. I'm very easy to just tune something out, even if it's there. I don't have those kind of reactions. I mostly have either positive or boredom.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't had much that's made me
I think
really
mine's
angry.
related to when I hear something terrible. I have a terrible. I mean, I'm my own worst critic for sure. So
Yeah, me
whenever
too.
I hear something that's awful, I immediately reference something that I've made that is like that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That I thought was good, and then I think, fuck.
They did
Is
that.
my crap just like that?
Right.
Or do I only hate it because I have self-hatred?
Yeah.
Maybe this is actually good, but because I'm hating myself, I'm hating that.
See, I hear stuff I love and go, damn it, why isn't my stuff sound this good? I mostly mad at myself that way when I hear something else. And it's not in a jealous, I wish they hadn't. It's more of a on me, like, why didn't I come up with that? That is so good.
Yeah, but that's
Why can't
interesting
I do
too,
that?
because somebody's thinking that about what you do.
Well, that would be nice.
Yeah, well, they are. I'm the guy that thinks that. When I hear stuff that you do, I go, oh, man, I would have never come up with that. Like when I've gotten you to do, when I'm always trying to trick you into doing string arrangements.
Big tricks.
I mean, I can do string arrangements on my own. I have melodies in my head.
Yeah.
But whenever you do it, it's like, wow, I wouldn't have done that. And that's amazing. It's not like I wouldn't have done that and yuck. It's more like, wow, I wouldn't have thought that. That's not the way my brain works.
Yeah.
And it turns out really good.
Cool.
Do you
Thanks.
consciously do that, or is that kind of like your internal song?
I think, I don't think that much, it's not that planned. I start just singing different lines in my head, and as quick as I can, grab a keyboard and play them in and see if they sound as good as I thought they did.
Right.
And then little lines, simple lines intertwining.
And but it happens in your brain, the melodies and the harmonies.
Mostly. But I'll forget it very quickly. It's very stream of consciousness, so I have to very quickly.
I think that's why your stuff is good, though. I really do, because I think many people approach things theoretically.
I don't have that.
They know the chords, they know where things are supposed to go, and so they're using their hands and stuff and their theory to create things. Whereas if you're really creating these melodies in your mind, that is visceral.
Yeah, I've thought about that, because I'm not a great theory guy, but I've learned enough to communicate it to others after the fact.
Exactly.
But I've never walked in and go, ooh, I could utilize this structure I learned about.
And that's
before.
probably why I feel like your stuff is recognizable. Like if I heard it passively, I would go, I think that might be John Hancock. Because
Maybe.
there's a certain element of darkness and melancholy and moodiness to it that isn't dark. Do you know what I mean? It's like there's this moody, dark hopefulness. I don't know if those things combine well, but
Well, thank you. I like that.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There is a darkness, but there's always this little bit of sunshine.
Yeah, I'm not trying to make horror stuff.
No, it's not horrible, but it's not
horror.
Yeah. It's not horror, but it's also not overly positive.
Right.
Or whatever. It rides that line, and I think that's the line that I like in life, is where you don't know whether you're supposed to laugh or cry.
Exactly.
Something. That's a beautiful. I think that's really what humanity is.
Yeah.
Melancholy. That it's the combination of all, emotions happening simultaneously.
Yes, but we're always still surprised that there are negative emotions somehow.
Yeah.
We're surprised.
Like, oh,
What? That shouldn't be.
why is that guy being such an asshole?
Yeah.
Yeah. Meanwhile, it's you.
Exactly.
Being the asshole. So that's good to know, though, that I wanted to. You sent me a podcast the other day. You were nice enough to do that when you heard my podcast, and I haven't heard it yet. I didn't introduce you to Mark Orton, did I?
No. Well, no. You introduced me to his band Tin Hat Trio.
Tin Hat Trio,
And
yeah.
by introduced, like, here's a CD, you would like this.
Right.
You literally handed me a physical CD. And
didn't Pat play in Tin Hat Trio for a minute?
I don't know if they
Rob
played in
Berger
it, but
did.
he for sure did.
Yeah.
And Pat and Mark have been friends for years. But
I gave you the
it's part of that
CD.
San Francisco cool guy crowd that
They weren't really cool guys, though.
They seem cool to me.
No, they were musical guys. They never got into that cool guy thing.
That's cool to me.
To their credit,
Yeah.
But So just explain for the people listening who Mark Orton is and what you're doing with him.
Okay, so yeah, Mark is part. I don't know where to start. Mark's was part of a band called Tin Hat Trio, which is this amazing music that sounds somewhere between. I don't even know what he's playing. Like Eastern European meets cowboy music.
The funny thing is I sent you that CD because it reminded me of you.
And I clicked with it so quickly. Yeah. And then when I went and searched a little more and listened over and over, and I loved this music and this was...
It's really good.
Yeah, and this was probably 2009 or the late 90s, early 2000s.
99, 2000, something
so
like that.
2010, I had been applying for years to get into the Sundance film composers... what do they call it? Oh my gosh, I can't. I'm blanking out here. I think it was lab. Yeah. There we go. So basically a summer camp where you get to go for like 2 weeks. It was it was.
Is it
really
at Sundance?
Fun. It was. Oh, they're now doing it down at Skywalker Ranch, which I'm sure would be cool. But there's something very charming about setting up 6 different individual trailers in the parking lot of Sundance in the summertime, and each trailer was its own recording studio.
Oh wow!
We each had our own studio, and they would bring up. I'm getting ahead of myself a little here, but they'd bring up other composers from the big Hollywood guys with a scene from their movies they had scored, and you would score that scene, and they would help you / critique you at the end.
Oh, but would you know about their composition first?
If you had you knew who was coming, if you had wanted to take time and study all their scores.
But you'd start from without their score, just a scene.
Yep, just a blank scene, just the dialogue and sound effects.
You hopefully don't know what they did.
Yeah, and if I did, I would try to forget.
Yeah.
But I got into that and I was really excited. I had applied for 6 years to get into that because there's only 6 slots a year. And then when I got in, you got to see who else got in, and I saw this name, Mark Orton, because I just knew Tin Hat Trio.
Yeah.
And then I looked it up and I'm like, oh man, this is the guy.
Yeah.
This is the guy from Tin Hat. So I was really excited. So when I met him, and he was in the class with me, not one of the teachers, which kind of blew me away. And so fortunately, we became really good friends up there.
Yeah.
And have stayed in touch since and worked on a lot of things. And he had already done some film scores and has gone on to do a lot more since then. He's just great indie stuff, lots of documentaries.
It just really doesn't surprise me that you guys ended it. When you told me that you guys were working together, I was like, well, duh.
Yeah, but how strange that's what brought us together.
The
Sundance Film Composers Lab, in Utah, choosing us as the random 6 people that year, 2010.
Did I get them a gig at Sundance? I can't remember. When I worked at Sundance as a volunteer, I hooked up with some people with some DJ gigs. And I feel like Rob Berger came out for something. Was it Tin Hat Trio? I don't know.
Might have been.
Yeah, but it's fun to have all those connections because you guys are both so talented. What is this podcasting? Tell me about this podcast music you're doing.
So this just was kind of an unusual thing that came out. So these gigs have been coming through Mark and his agency, and this company came out and they had a podcast they wanted to actually try scoring instead of just grabbing random library cues.
Yeah.
So it was called Y2K, and it was so good. It was about people freaking out at the year 2000.
I remember that.
Yeah, everything. And in depth. And they went in and found like even the guy who coined the term Y2K, and it was a computer programmer, and how in the late 90s, all the computer guys were starting to worry about this at different banks. And that's how it started. And this is the same time, of course, all the religions were saying 2000 was going to be. So when they heard about it, it's like, there it is.
That's it, the world.
That's how it's going to happen. And so it followed the lives of these people. It was great because it's not just an overview. They literally found like a family that sold everything and moved to Jerusalem in 1999 and lived off the land and decided to live just like they did in biblical times. Like learned how to, they're herding goats and wearing robes.
Are they interviewing people from back then? Or
yeah,
just telling
they
stories?
Went and found these people and told their stories. And if there is any footage,
how many of them are embarrassed?
That's what was good about this show. Is it? Some of them were, but all of them learned something from that experience. So some of the family that went over there is still over there, just because they learned to live simply. And there were the preppers, of course, that had done all these things, and how it helped them survive some of the California wildfires because they had a van always ready to go with food, water, turn the key and drive away. You know,
Man, I don't fault the preppers. I was raised Mormon.
Yeah.
We had a 2-year food supply in the room next to my bedroom in the basement. Literally,
Did you ever eat it?
Oh, are you kidding me? Every night I'd go in there and get a little can of mandarin orange slices or something like
there are a
that.
few good things.
Few good things.
You'd get the fake meat, the TVP. Did you get that?
We never got that. But we had lots of grains and rice, and
Yeah.
we did a lot of canning and fruit, preservation and stuff.
We
like
had grains we had bought in these paper bags, and I remember we'd sit around and you could hear the Weevils.
Weevils, yes.
Were suddenly in there.
I
We're like,
never heard them. That'd be crazy.
we could hear them in the closets.
Oh God, we used to get these freeze-dried foods too.
Yeah.
In big cans, and then one of them was like freeze-dried cheddar cheese powder. And we'd try to make your own macaroni and cheese with it,
Yeah.
But it was just really strong, and it didn't have the butter and the milk and stuff in it too,
Yeah.
and it was really orange, like
Yeah.
the orangest orange you ever saw. But I would go in and, have you seen those cinnamon challenges? On
Oh,
the internet?
yes. Yeah.
Well, taking a spoonful of that cheddar cheese was much the same way. You think it's a good idea, but then you breathe it in and you
Yeah.
cough out a big orange cloud.
Out
of
your
cheese.
nose.
Yeah, it's terrible.
I think a lot of those things were good, though, the 2-year supply, because I think most families that had those ended up needing them, period.
Sure. Well, I mean,
You know
there's
what I
no
mean?
reason to not have it.
Yeah,
You're
and you
gonna
might
eat
as
it
well be
anyway.
cycle through it.
The way we ended up doing it is that we would just keep it stocked,
Yeah.
kind of like a little store. We'd use it.
That's smart.
It would get kind of down or whatever. But so this podcast,
Anyway,
the preppers.
so we ended up scoring a podcast, which was
You're
really
a prepper
fun.
scoring for a prepper.
Yeah,
Good.
exactly.
Yeah.
And it worked out really well, and they had us do their next one, which is called Running from Cops, and it is about the TV show Cops. And same thing.
And so do you score a whole series, or do you just score an episode?
It was a whole series. Some things got repurposed because you could use the music over and over in different
Right.
edits, of
Some
course.
them, like background music.
And another interesting thing that we were doing was trying to just deliver things in some stems, which means tracks full of different instruments. So if there was one instrument they just loved this bass line of something,
Right.
they could reuse just the bass line for this 10-second transition or
Yeah,
something.
that's cool.
So we're kind of coming out, hopefully we
But
get
so
to do
that
more
means
of
that you were doing the music, but somebody else was laying it in and deciding where it goes. Because I would imagine
kind
you'd
of.
listen.
We would
what's the
write
process?
the first one. We were more like we put this exactly here, and the other thing that was cool about the podcast is if we moved a phrase to the left or right a little to make room for our musical moment, they were fine with that.
Yeah.
You can't do that in film. You can't let the music guy make your
Well, that's true
scene
with
go
audio.
a little
You
longer.
could-
But audio, I was able
they
to
might
move
not
their
even
thing.
notice it.
They might not have.
Yeah, if the music's taking over.
But they had final control. They did the final mix of it, which was great.
It's funny, scoring to me, this is a good topic though, because I was just having this conversation with a friend of mine. She asked me to watch The Family on Netflix,
Yeah.
and she said, I like it. She goes, Netflix has turned into this is an opinion show, so I get to have an opinion here.
Right.
But Netflix has turned into a real hard lefty kind of like preaching about lefty things. And so it's become almost unwatchable for me. But this woman who generally I trust her opinion on documentaries. When she recommends them, I go, okay. And they're usually good.
Yeah.
But she recommended The Family. I thought, okay, but I started watching it. And literally a minute in, I went, no, this is bullshit. And it was the music.
Oh, interesting.
It was the music that tipped me off. It's always the music that tips me off in a documentary. That's when I go, I know your opinion. I know you're come from right now with that first note.
Yeah.
Because it comes in and goes, and it's the Christian lobby. Heavy music. I'm going,
Yeah.
Okay, so
I know
this is a series, a documentary. It's an opinion piece
Right.
that is anti-Christian lobby.
Yeah.
They don't like the Christian lobby. Fine, but they gave it away too soon.
That's just that a lot of those things happen. Maybe not even because there wasn't a composer involved.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these things, they don't have a huge budget. So the director is trying to exactly do that.
Yeah.
And so they're like, this is heavy-handed. I'm feeling these are the bad guys. So let me find bad guy music.
I'm not criticizing the use of it. Well, am I? I don't know. I'm just saying, don't call yourself a documentary. You're not a documentary. You have an opinion. You're a pundit. You know what you want to sell. This is art. You're making art. I have no problem with art. You can be as direct as you want to be in art, or you can be as sneaky as you want to be in art. But don't try to call it unbiased, whatever.
documentary.
when you're putting these minor diminished chords
right,
teaching me exactly what I'm supposed to think about this person on screen.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be afraid of them.
Yeah.
Fuck you. How about just let me hear what he says and I'll decide whether I'm afraid or not.
It works is why they do it, or at least
it does work.
Yeah,
It's powerful.
Yeah, it does work.
Music is magic.
Yeah, and especially if people don't even know. Oh, Dum Dum saw a squirrel.
Oh, we're in John Hancock's backyard. By the way, John Hancock, that's his real name.
Yeah,
It's your real name.
my parents are super patriotic.
Did they really do it patriotic?
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Like that was like when I was 9, we went back east and saw the Statue of Liberty and all that stuff, and we went to where they signed the Declaration of Independence, and she was like, "Excuse me, my son is named John. Can he sit in the chair?" And they're like, "No. Can't sit in the 200-year-old chair."
Please get in line behind the 50 other John Hancocks that are here today.
That's what I found. It's not that unique a name. There's tons of us on Facebook.
I mean, Hancock's not a unique name, and John is above the, what is it, John and Dave?
Yeah, and Mike.
Our names are the two most... Listen to how my dad names his kids. John, Stephen, Dan. My brother's at Mike.
Yeah.
The most bland of all the names. We got them all in my family.
And then now everybody's trying to do, like, I've got a son, Azure.
Yeah, we're going the other way.
We're going the other way with it.
Kids always rebel against their parents.
Yeah, who knows what, yeah.
Okay, so we were talking about, I got sidetracked. I wanted to keep going down this.
Podcast scoring, the power of scores.
The power of scoring. What's your opinion about that kind of thing? Do you think... Here's what I don't like. I just don't like it when people try to pass off something as unbiased when it's clearly not. Can you have an unbiased thing and have music in it at all?
Oh, that's a good question.
I think
there's some times where, Mark will say this, and we'll have a scene, and we'll be like, this just needs a little, as he calls it, a motor. Just a little something churning in the background and just keep it going, because there's just some guy talking for 3 minutes. It gets really boring. So sometimes we'll just have a simple pattern that's neither good nor bad. No major or minor third involved. Just some pa 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 that just kind of helps move things along. But obviously, a composer is working for a director.
Yeah. And
so if the director says, we're looking for this, and a lot of times things are pre-tempt with something. And so you're going to, but yeah, you're right. Could you have something neutral with music? You can have kind of neutral music. We've definitely made some neutral, just trying to keep you paying attention to this guy without having any commentary on whether he's lying or telling the truth.
Yeah, it's weird because, I make music too, and music, I think, even though I haven't pushed it forward as much as most of my friends in the music business, I do it just as much, and but I really do have conflicted ideas about the power of music, because it is, for me, sometimes just a little bit too powerful, and it's almost one of the reasons, this is an excuse I make for why I haven't pushed as much forward. Or out and shared it into the world, is because of that weird responsibility. No, I'm not saying that I'm making these big, powerful things, by the way.
With great power.
That sounds like what I'm doing, but exactly. I'm not. But it's really, I guess what I'm trying to say is it's so important to be honest with it, because it's powerful. Because you really can put a good song behind a total lie and sell it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You don't have a lot of opportunities to do that to where it's really going to affect things, unless you're really trying to write social conscious
marching songs.
Yeah. It's like your song about
Muse.
Yeah, is not that. And maybe this is not quite what you mean, but I think about this sometimes, about authenticity in music. And I don't think you sweat it either too much, but I don't sweat. Am I doing an authentic Appalachian fiddle thing?
I'm thinking of authenticity a different way. But I see what you're saying.
But even that, like you used to, we had talks about how you were fine with technology and using your phone to make beats, and who cared if it wasn't a real drummer or those kind of things.
Whatever tool you have.
Yeah, I don't sweat that at all. In fact, the more I've done things, I think the different filter lenses we all become is what's important about it.
Yeah.
Like my version of some old country music, it's not real. I didn't grow up with real country music, but my weird filter through old cowboy movies and stuff is its own thing.
This is literally an idea I was going to do as of my own rant on a podcast.
Yeah.
But that it's originality versus authenticity. And what's the difference? You know, because when you're young as an artist, I think a lot of times we go, oh, I've already heard that before. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to use a Roland Juno 106. It's not a style.
Right,
you know?
right.
Or whatever.
Right.
You know, I've heard it before. I got to be original.
Yeah.
I got to be original. First of all, you already are original. If you're a person, you're already original. You don't need to copy somebody, but you can always do your interpretation of anything. I can't say I love you in a song. Everybody says I love you in a song. Well, of course, because you're using language and it means something, you dipshit.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to use it again. The question is are you being authentic? Are you being truthful?
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's where
Did you mean that? Yeah.
That's where I judge art the most. If I can sense that somebody is expressing themselves honestly, or if they're
that makes sense.
trying to bullshit me.
Yes.
Which a lot of it is bullshit.
Right.
And I think I think a lot of people fall for it.
I think a lot of times people will use art or music to, maybe it's not authentic, but they're trying to make it towards something that they wish they were more of. Sometimes, like to raise themselves up into something else. Like I'm not, like I had no confidence as a young person, like in high school, none, zero. I was just the quietest nerdy guy at school. But then I had music, but it was more like, you know, I played the violin and piano and stuff, which I love. That's not a knock at all. But when I did get my Juno 106 and a drum machine, I started a band, and suddenly I found my thing, and I started writing and feeling something that made me feel more confident. Right. And cool. So if I had been totally authentic.
No, but that is authentic.
It was an authentic wish. It was an authentic dream that I was trying. It was an authentic aspiration. Yeah. And it's not like I was writing songs, but if I had just gotten on and written a song about...
for example, it wouldn't seem that authentic for a sheepish little nerdy guy, you know, to be writing, I'm the greatest badass in the world. I will kick the shit out of your face, you motherfucker.
Yes, and at the same time, I don't know if it would be authentic to say, I'm a loser and so lonely. Yeah. But if you're writing something in between, like, I just want to put on a costume for a while that I feel confident in.
See, I think
because I didn't write about feeling sad.
Vulnerability still applies there, though.
Yeah.
Like I think if you're really being authentic about your wishes and your dreams, that's an authentic wish. It's not, I wish I could be like this.
True.
You know, if you're... John just threw the phone at his own face. I don't know what happened. Yeah, he had a spasm. Threw the phone at his own face.
That's good.
Yeah,
I'm glad that's not video.
No, I think that can be authentic too. Like if you're expressing your true, you know what I mean. I think you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm splitting hairs here because the worst and best thing about art and art critique is that you're always right and you're always wrong.
I know.
Like no matter what.
Yeah.
Because if somebody else likes it, then fuck your opinion.
Yeah.
You know.
Exactly.
The opinion machine is kind of a tongue-in-cheek thing. It's like, who gives a shit
right.
what your opinion is? If I like something, I'm going to like it. And why are you trying to talk me out of liking something?
And that's probably one of the best freedoms you can give yourself, but sometimes it doesn't happen until a little later in life.
Yeah. Going back to what you said earlier, though, I like, about not getting wrapped up in not liking something.
Yeah.
You're able to just ignore it.
Yeah.
I think it's good to really try to like things.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, why spend effort trying to talk people? That's one change I've been trying to make. Because I know I spent a lot of my life, that's stupid. Why do you like that? Oh my God, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, I wasn't overbearingly that way, but I can remember being that way a little bit. Trying to define the tribes.
Yeah.
If you want to be in this tribe,
you gotta hate
you
that.
You can't be listening to this bullshit.
Right.
We don't wear that kind of hat, you fucker. Right. You know?
I love it. I wish you really did talk that way back then. It's like your voice has changed. You've matured.
Yeah, your little tape. You know what's funny though about you know how I present the podcast with a cassette tape?
Right.
That's an actual film that I made with that phone, not that phone, of a cassette tape.
One of those blank ones.
And my Tascam Porta 1,
right,
which was a 4-track I bought the same week as I bought my Juno 106. You know, way back then when I was 16 years old, making my own 4-track recordings.
Yeah.
So that film is of that tape.
Oh, that's cool.
I was going somewhere with that. Now I've forgotten where I was going. I forgot what I was going to say about that. What were we talking about?
We were talking about, did you used to really talk that way?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you can't like...
Oh, what I was going to say is right before I decided to use that tape, I pulled that Tascam Porta 1 out of the little shelf on which it was sitting, just looking cute. And I thought, oh, can I get this to work again? And I got it to work again. And the tape that was in it was a tape of me on my Mormon mission, because I took that thing with me on my Mormon mission.
Oh, you did?
You're not? Is that still working?
I hope so. Yeah, still going.
Oh, good. Yeah, it was a tape of me, just a tape I made apparently for my dad that I never sent to him because I still have it. But it was just me walking around the favelas of Brazil, describing what I'm looking at, talking a little.
Because it was battery operated.
Well, I didn't make it with the Porta 1. I made it with a different thing. But
okay.
I just happened to have the tape in there. And on the other side of that tape was just a long rainstorm, a Brazilian rainstorm.
Oh, that's cool.
So I was making a little art shit on my Mormon mission. Did you go on a mission?
I did, and it just reminded me. I did. I went to Texas, and I couldn't give up making music at all. So my maid, I asked my mom, and she did, to send me out my Yamaha drum machine.
Whoa.
And I would go into the chapels on Mondays, which is the P day, which stands for Preparation Day. For people who don't know, you get one day off. And I would hook up the drum machine over the PA system in the chapel.
And your companion was like, this is cool.
Yeah, this is cool. And then I'd record it, and then I'd play either the big pipe organ along with the drum beat.
Holy shit.
Or the grand piano.
When was the last time you heard these recordings?
I gotta find them. I gotta find them.
I was digging through these cassettes of this mission, and I'm like, oh man, I made a whole bunch of shit. And my voice is totally different. I sound like a young kid from Utah. Like my Utah accent was much more pronounced.
Yeah, you were more Utah.
Yeah, I didn't know that, but just and I think I was aping David Letterman.
Oh,
too.
Interesting.
Like my cadence.
Yeah.
I know I was a big fan of David Letterman back in those days, but I listened to myself and I was going, I can see. I know where you got that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, not being authentic.
I have a cassette downstairs that I made before I went on the mission. I know it's me talking about what I'm into and what I liked. It was meant to be like a time capsule thing, and I haven't listened to it.
Dude,
I'm too afraid to listen to it because I'm going to be so embarrassed.
Do you have any idea where the tapes are of you and your drum machine and the organ?
No, that I would listen to. I would love to hear that.
I would like to splice it in right here. That would be if you knew where that was, because that would be cool. I did a similar thing. Like I would go in and I didn't know how to play the piano or anything, but I just loved going in. My companion would go down the hall into some other room in the chapel, and I'd just fuck around on the piano, you know, playing whatever I thought I could play, which was nothing. I knew nothing about piano, and I resisted it. This is another dickhead move on my part, is I always resisted theory. I always resisted knowing anything about it. Like, I don't want any musical theory infecting me. I want to make sure that it comes from my brain, from my heart, God damn it.
Yeah.
You know, so it really wasn't only until about 5 years ago that I started going, all right, I'm going to fucking take some watch some YouTube piano tutorials.
Just some basic,
so I can actually communicate what I'm playing to other players. Like, this is a C minor.
Yeah.
Like, I know what these things are now.
Right. And it makes that a lot easier.
Makes it way easier.
Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't make the music any better. And I do still see how that it can be a crutch when you know a key and you know it's better when you just use your mind. You know, or even if you don't know what you're doing on the piano, to ignore your theory and just feel around.
That's generally, I think, what you're kind of supposed to do if you were doing things traditionally, but going all the way with it is you should learn it so you can forget it.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of subconscious with you as a tool.
I think that's better. Just eyes closed and just kind of feeling out what is going on.
Yeah.
You know, like if I have to, I feel better about compositions and music I make when I have to look up the chords later.
Yeah.
You know, when I
sure.
go, all right, what is this? I have an app on my phone called P chord, and I'll have to it's a reverse chord finder where you put the notes in and it will tell you what chord you're playing.
That's cool.
So I'm still proud of my ignorance.
Yeah.
Which is gross.
I have some of that.
Yeah,
And
it's
just
gross,
going
right?
back to well, I do think early on you can hide behind it. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. It becomes a quick thing to say, well, I'm just what you said.
Yeah.
I'm creative.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
I don't need training.
Yeah, exactly.
I came out this way.
I'm here to break new ground in this world.
Yeah. I really did that a lot. Did I ever do that to you, I wonder?
I don't remember any particular moment or
I guess
project.
we probably wouldn't still be friends if either one of us was completely overbearing.
No. No, that's good. You and I can go like a year without talking. We just kind of pick back up. It's good.
That's the great thing about getting old is that you don't see your friend for a year, and then you see him and you just go, oh, you look older.
Exactly. And then that's it. And then they do too, and you feel okay about it.
Yeah. I actually find that friendships are better when you get older because, like I said this in a song, you can never make a new old friend. You know?
Yeah.
And the passage of time accounts for something.
Yeah.
It really does. Even if you're not constantly in communication, the fact is, and I'm figuring this out as I get older too, it's just like I've got more in common with my enemies from high school than I do with brand new people that I meet.
Yeah.
That I like.
Good point.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I could sit down and have dinner with an enemy from high school and it'd probably be more comfortable.
and maybe more entertaining.
And we probably agree on more things too.
Yeah.
Because we really are a product of our environments in many ways.
Yeah, we don't want to admit it.
We don't want to admit it. Oh, I was going to go back to that too. Back to the music thing. You know how when you're defining yourself tribally, you don't know when you're doing it, but that's what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
You're finding your tribe. I was being a new waver and a breakdancer. I wanted to be in two tribes because I had to mix that shit up.
Yeah.
You know? So I was a new wave breakdancer. I had my foot in both tribes.
I've never seen you make any breakdance move ever. I didn't. That was all
I was
pre
a pop
me.
Pop locker.
Oh, awesome!
I didn't spin around on the ground. I moved my body in funny ways, like a robot.
Can you still do any of that? And I'm not asking that to ask you to do it for me.
I'm fantastic. Get me drunk, and I dance like an old black man. So,
okay.
Yeah, I'm not bad. Anyway, and I judge people who can't dance. I really do. I'm very judgmental. But
I'm in trouble.
What was I saying?
Tribal.
Oh yeah, you're defining yourself. But what I've found, so you pick all this music, right? And a lot of it doesn't stand the test of time. Like for me, a lot of that stuff I pretended to like, I didn't know I was pretending to like it until I hear it now and I go, what the fuck is this crap?
Yeah.
Like most of REM, for example. Like I really like, there's still, which is weird because a couple of my favorite songs are REM songs.
Yeah.
But for the bulk of it, hate it, can't stand it. But what I was saying is that, so you choose all this music, but what I've found is that the music, I set up a Pandora station that was all 70s soft rock.
Yeah.
And I was like, I heard it all and I was like, this stuff is deeper in my bones. The stuff I got passively through the radio when I was 12 and 13 is deeper in my bones. I know all the words.
Yeah.
Like I revisit stuff that I thought I loved that I chose, and I don't know it nearly as well as this fucking shit like Christopher Cross and like stuff I made fun of.
Yeah.
You know?
And yet you totally remember it.
Yeah. Stuff that came through the radio.
Yeah.
Like what you were talking about with Charlie Daniels. And it's in your bones more.
That you took in just because, you had no social implications with it.
I'm trying to imagine what is in your bones because your music is like, the stuff that's, you probably didn't listen to Andrew Lloyd Webber. And you probably don't even like people saying that.
Here's what's weird. So my parents wouldn't let me listen to pop music or rock music at all till I was, like 11 or 12. So I grew up mostly listening to film score stuff.
Interesting.
So, and classical music, but also there was lots of Broadway show stuff. This was Lloyd Webber was doing stuff. I don't remember what I heard. I remember like sitting listening to those kind of soundtracks.
Phantom of the Opera.
No, this is way before that.
Because you do have a certain dramatic element. Or you used to more. Now
They
it's...
were more like it was like Frank Sinatra stuff.
Oh, okay.
But, I mean, they were into musicals, but we're talking, this is the, early 70s. They weren't into Hair, that's for sure.
Right.
They would have been into Hello, Dolly.
Exactly.
And
That's
those-
what my mom's record collection
Rodgers and Hammerstein
was like
and these
Henry
classic-
Mancini. We had a bunch of Henry
For sure,
Mancini.
tons of that, the Mancini stuff.
The Letterman.
But like a TV show I'd like, or a movie, or like I remember going and getting the Battlestar Galactica record of the soundtrack.
Yeah.
See,
that makes sense because your music really is filmic.
That's what I related to the most.
Yeah.
So pop music didn't come till much later, but I really did enjoy it. When I really did hear rock guitars, I was like, oh wow.
That is the one
like
thing
this.
I could say probably about your music is that it definitely always seems like it belongs in film, and I'm always just waiting for you to score your big film gig.
I would love that.
Yeah.
That's on my radar still. I'm working towards that.
With the podcast and stuff. And Mark Orton's doing that.
Well,
kind
and
of
we've been
stuff,
doing
too.
more films too. The podcast is kind of an anomaly.
Have you worked on films with Mark Orton?
Oh, for sure. Way more than that. Like I said, the podcast is just this little blip
What
that was
have they
really
been?
cool. and
Are there films?
I'd like to do more.
I saw that one with the guy from the Polygamous Show. What's the guy's actor name? The old guy. He was in the Many Wives show in Utah, and then he had that. Mark Orton did the soundtrack. North Dakota or something.
Oh, Nebraska.
Nebraska.
He did that one.
He did that one.
He did that one.
You
I
did-
wasn't part of that. It was kind of right after that he started pulling me on a few things. We've done a bunch of documentaries. A documentary called Breakthrough. It's about this guy who has discovered a really great cure for certain kinds of cancer, and the whole process he had to go through. But he was like this total Texas guy who plays harmonica in bands, in bar bands and stuff.
Yeah.
And Willie Nelson is involved with it somehow.
Wow, cool.
And, yeah. So yeah, we've been doing more of that. So that's actually what I'm trying to point my compass more
Yeah,
toward
well,
now.
I mean, that would be such a good gig for a guy like you.
Yeah, I love that.
And the good thing, too, is as we're aging, we're
Yes.
both getting older at the exact same rate, so we can talk about this.
We can.
I always forget, are you older or am I older?
I think I'm like
a few
1 year
months.
or 6 months older than you.
Yeah, that's why you're so much wiser.
So
That's why you're... it's why.
but yeah, you can do that. Yeah.
But the
I know
beautiful
what you're
thing
going to
is,
say.
like,
You can
you-
do that forever.
Yeah, well,
it's not
also,
age-based
it
as
works
much.
in your favor.
Yeah.
People, when they got a lot of money invested in a film, don't want some kind of 20-year-old asshole like I was. Yeah, I don't learn music, man. I do things my own way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They don't want that coming in.
They want some
I'm doing it on my iPhone, motherfucker.
Yeah.
You know, they want somebody who's got some wrinkles on their face, got some gray hair, that they can trust, that has a whole stream.
That's done it before. And so I'm still in mentorship phase with Mark. I mean, I didn't get to say this before, but he is one of my all-time. He's who I look up to.
Yeah.
In so many ways. He's one of the smartest guys I've ever met.
Dude, and look at
just
me.
such a
I'm putting a
music-
star
I mean,
on my forehead because I'm sent you the CD first.
You did. Yeah. Because
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully we'll still have met and been friends. But I walked in as a fan already.
I wonder if you would have, though. If you would have seen his name and you'd never heard Tim Hat Trio, he would have just been a random guy.
Maybe. I still would have liked the music he made because he was making that exact same kind of music up
Well,
there.
that's
he brought
obvious.
up weird instruments and it was
I just
awesome.
happened to be the guy.
But you were right. But yeah, I walked in knowing who he was, and
This is my podcast, so I make shit about me.
for sure, it's totally.
You see what I'm
I will
saying?
give you all the credit for that. I'm totally happy to give
That's
credit
cool.
for that.
Yeah, well, Mark Orton needs to give me some fucking credit, too.
Yeah, just drive up,
Bitch.
go up to Portland.
Is
Talk
he
to
in
him.
Portland?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's
Yep.
fun.
He's just got this cool house and a great studio in his backyard, and makes it all there.
And how does that a mentorship like that work? Like when a project comes in, it lands on his desk, and then he goes, John would do this better. Is that how it works?
It's always just been doing it together. He hasn't thrown a whole project to me yet.
Right. And how do you do it, though? How do you work?
So it's great. I mean, they're going to him for those reasons you're talking about. He's got the experience. I always say he's got an IMDb page that counts. I'm still filling mine up.
Right. But you're getting that.
But
Do you have
exactly.
one now?
And he's been cool enough to give me co-credit on a lot of things. And some of them is additional music, which also counts. But it's literally like, hey, you've got this film, and he'll send me the clips. And
in other words, he gives credit where it's due.
Yes, I'm not ghosting for him at all.
Yeah.
He's so great that way. It'll always be credit, and he tells them, hey, my friend John is working on this. So he gives me credit on it and makes sure. But we just throw things back and forth. We're not in the same room together. We're that far apart. But we're just talking 20 times a day or texting.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's very organized. Like, why don't you take from, 13 minutes, 28 seconds, frame 3 up until this time. And we're kind of doing this style, and a lot of times it's pre-temped, and so I'll write something just for that, send him an MP3 if he likes it.
I need to go. I want to interview him now, just because I don't know him well. I mean, he probably wouldn't even remember me.
Interesting.
He
would.
We've met a number of times.
Your name has come up.
Maybe
for sure.
Maybe we were at a couple parties together, but I never really spent any time with him. But I want to interview him about what he thinks about. Because he's obviously sending stuff to you, so he's obviously discovered the magic of John Hancock as well. And he's
been very generous. I'm super grateful.
Because I kind of wonder how much he wants to keep you a secret a little bit. Because there is that thing, and this is another thing that I'm going to say about you that might be part of the reason is that you've got so much talent that I think a lot of people, when they find you, do want to keep you a secret for them. Selfishly, like they just want to go, I don't want anybody else to find out. I don't want him working on this. So if John goes off and works on this, how am I going to get work from him?
I don't know if that's happened, but that's a compliment. Thank you very much.
No, I think that it might. I think it could be a thing.
But I definitely don't have that with him. He's super encouraging.
Yeah, that's
like
cool.
He's like, you should be way more busy. You should be doing more. And he's
got enough.
It's been all give from him.
Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah, well, that's really cool. Well,
you should talk to him.
I should go to Portland.
Yeah,
this is pretty good. We're at 1 hour and 11 minutes.
Yeah,
that's not bad, right?
No, that's good.
Because I wanted to get into a longer form discussion.
Right.
Because I enjoy long form discussions.
I do too.
On John, because I find that if you're listening to podcasts, you're doing it passively.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm on a walk. I'm out cleaning something in the yard. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah.
And you actually, a lot of times, you want to look for something long. Like when I'm driving from San Francisco to here, 3-hour Joe Rogan podcast fit the bill because I think, oh, okay, there's 4 podcasts I can listen to, and then I'll be there, or 3.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't want them to be short because I don't want to be fiddling around in the car.
That's exactly right.
Choosing a different one.
And they always go fast when you're into it. I mean, maybe this one will go fast.
How long are the podcasts that you've been scoring?
They're broken into sections, so they're formatted like 1 hour long.
1 hour each?
Usually 6 to 8
hours
total.
When I listen to Conan Needs a Friend is a good podcast.
I need to listen to that one.
He talks too much, but he's funny, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And his assistants talk too much, too. But he's nice and magnanimous that way. But they're a little bit too short. It lasts an hour, and I'm thinking, you're just getting started.
Yeah, you go a lot longer. Is he interviewing people? Or is he just talking?
I think the podcast thing works better when people are just having conversations. I think that's why podcasting is kind of on the rise. I think that's why it's a better medium.
Yeah.
It's because I think people are thirsting for not interviews, not bullet point, get to this, plug that, but they just want to hear people talking things out. And I think the best ones are wrestling with ideas.
Haven't you found, too, that listening to those long ones, I can't think of hardly any that I've heard that I didn't end up liking their person more than I did going in.
Oh, it almost.
I can think of a couple. I'm like, no, that guy was an idiot.
No,
that guy was really weird, but at least I see his humanity.
I can think of some where, like I've seen him on Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
I'll just say his name, David Pakman, who's a guy who I kind of liked. He's got a liberal opinion podcast, YouTube channel. But he's like one of the people that a lot of people would go, okay, he's a decent guy on the left or whatever.
Yeah.
But when I saw him on Rogan, I was like, I hate this guy.
Oh.
Because Joe Rogan is such a great, we're talking about podcasts on a podcast, but the reason why he's good is because he's just curious enough that he can draw out the intelligence of another person because he legitimately wants to know, because he's curious. Right? So that's really good. And if his guest has more knowledge than he does, then that's a perfect combination.
Right.
He's drawing out all the information from a person with a lot of knowledge. If his guest is dumb, or if Joe's the smartest one in the room, it's hard to listen to.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, no, because then you're just listening to Joe repeating secondhand stuff he learned on his other podcast.
Yeah, that he learned from his last guest.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's always better to have, but I do know what you're saying. In a good conversation, long form, I think at least you develop some sort of human type of connection. What's she chasing?
Probably sensing. We got lots of critters up here.
Yeah, you have deer back here.
We have deer. I've seen raccoons.
John Hancock just happened to move right around the corner of one of my childhood homes, which was up on 17th Avenue.
Yeah.
We were broke as fuck, and that's not a broke as fuck neighborhood.
No.
This isn't a broke as fuck neighborhood at all.
No.
We just happened to score because I think some woman, a friend of my mom's, took pity on my mom. She was single with 4 kids, selling Shackley. I don't know if you know what that is.
Shackley. Yeah,
it's like a lower brand of
like
Avon.
an old school MLM.
Yeah, way old school. Yeah.
Shackley.
And isn't it funny that multi-level marketing is such a Mormon thing?
Oh, yeah. It's the biggest here.
They learn on other missions. But she was selling Shackley up the road, and we only lived there for a year and a half. But, when you're a kid, a year is such a huge slice of your pie.
Yeah.
Do you find yourself going back into your childhood more and more as you're getting older?
What do you mean, thinking about it
Well,
more?
reconnecting with old friends, just finding it to be more important. Maybe not.
Yes and no. I haven't stayed in touch with too many old friends, and the ones I have, I'm quite in touch and have stayed in touch the whole time.
Right.
But no, I haven't. I remember going to a high school reunion and being like, okay, that was enough. There's nothing new here to reconnect with.
Yeah, I guess the way I'm like that. But maybe I think the difference is that I don't think you ever... I think I was more of an asshole than you. Like, when I moved out of Utah and moved to San Francisco, I didn't know this at the time, but a lot of it was just thinking, this pond is too small to contain my bigness. I'm going to go out and do bigger and better things.
Exactly.
This
town ain't big enough for my dreams.
Fucking Utah people, Mormons, idiots.
Yeah, exactly.
People believe in God. I'm going to go out and hang out with the gays.
Yeah.
I'm a liberal. I'm cool.
Right.
I didn't think that I was thinking that. But when you look back, this wasn't stuff that was in my active brain, but it was subdued. It's a background noise. I don't think you ever had that.
I had a desire to move away and do those things. But yeah, as you say that was totally how we all felt back then.
I guess everybody does, huh?
Yeah, I think so.
You moved out of Utah for a while though, didn't you?
No.
Never?
Just the Mormon mission. And I came back here and I started a business and started into this.
I thought
and
you
then
did
bought a home and built a
for
studio in the home, and I just kept planting roots and then started a family, but not till a lot later.
And you're doing music every day of your life?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So no dry spells. You're just plugging away.
I wouldn't say that, but it's like I think of it's like any self-employed job.
Yeah.
You have all of a sudden you get hit with a ton of stuff. Like, I'm in a good, comfortable moment right now, but I feel a big storm of work coming.
Yeah.
That I'll be dying, and then all of a sudden I'll go 2 months with nothing. But I'll be grateful for that, actually.
Yeah, because then it's a break.
It would be nice if it was spread out even, but you don't get that in any self-employed.
That's the kind of nervousness of that, especially in the art world, is you get your big paycheck, but then what's coming next.
Yeah,
you
just got to stretch it out.
It's a wonderful
I've gotten
thing.
used to that after all these years. Well, not 100% used to it. It's still stressful, but I always compare myself. I'm like, if I were a self-employed plumber or something, I'd be feeling these same things.
That's true, but people's toilets are always clogging.
It's true.
And I guess, but people are always looking for music too. But now that there's so many people, it's more impressive when you make it now.
Yeah, it's harder to pop out.
It really is. Like, if you can really make yourself a good career now, it's more impressive because everybody's got the tools. Look at us. We're both holding a 50-track studio that is a TV station too.
Right.
You can broadcast it to the entire world right here with
live.
This device.
Yeah.
Live.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gear is no longer an excuse. The lack of gear is no longer excuse.
No, everybody has the tools now.
Now it's just whether you're going to do it or not, or whether anybody gives a shit.
I think one thought, going back to like what musics you like, I just want to say another thought I've always had is, and I had this as I hit about even in my 30s, like you start to watch your friends who are into certain music, that's it. They stop right there. They can't like anything new. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
Like whatever was cool in high school or college, that's what
Well,
you love,
I think
and that's it.
Yeah.
That's probably the majority.
I sum it up like this. I think most people join, fight, and die for whatever army finds them first.
Good one. Yeah,
they
that's
put
exactly
they
right.
put that uniform on when they're about 17 years old.
Yeah.
They joined it. They fight. They die for that army.
Yeah. Yep.
I've never felt that way.
I haven't either.
And I think my attitude might be even, it's maybe unhealthy to the other degree. I'm always abandoning. I've always felt abandoned in my life, but really I'm the abandoner. I move away from my town. I move away.
Yeah.
I kill the projects I get involved in. You know what I mean?
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
But so it's just the opposite of the deal. I always want, what's the different army? Well, what makes this one? Oh,
Yeah.
I'm not so sure I like this army.
Exactly. Exactly.
I'm abusive to everybody around me. It's terrible.
I'm pretty loyal to them, but I'm happy to try and take on multiple armies at the same time.
Does this mean because I don't search out new music or anything like that.
Well, both either in film or pop and dance music, there's constantly change happening. But I remember thinking as I was, settling, I'm in my 30s, and I'm like, okay, this is it. This is my career. I got to make this all the way to the end. But I remember saying, as soon as I can't find something I like about what's new, it's time to quit.
Yeah.
And so I'm always, like you said, stretching to find things I like, even if my first response is sometimes like, oh, this again, we just do this. I just did this 15 years ago. This is cool again. Okay, all right. Let me find what I love about it, and let me get into it.
What's an example of that?
I'd have to think of something.
Yeah, okay.
But I mean, even the fact that so many 90s things are back now.
Sure,
Certain 90s sounds, I'm like, really? I just sold this on eBay like 5 years ago, and now I shouldn't have sold it, I guess.
Your Juno 106.
No, I have.
That I have.
Yeah.
Was that your first keyboard? That was my first keyboard.
Absolutely.
Yours was the first one too?
For sure.
Oh,
I think
look
we
at
talked
that.
about this.
Yeah, but for some reason I got my wires crossed and I thought that you were a Yamaha DX7 guy.
I never did have one of those.
What a terrible accusation that I accused you
How
of that.
dare you?
See?
The DX7 Rhodes sound.
No.
I still don't like that
No,
sound.
I wasn't a fan of
I
DX7.
have not.
See that? I had a negative stereotype about you that I've been harboring all these years that I didn't
was a
even know that I
DX7.
had.
No.
Like, how dare me? How dare I
Foist the DX7,
the DX7
upon
on
me.
you? I should have known you were a Juno 106 guy.
Yeah, exactly.
I still own my Juno 106, but it is in the possession of a good friend in New York.
Oh, there you
She's
go.
beat it to hell. But I figured I wasn't using it, and she was touring with it and stuff like that.
Their values back up
Yeah, it goes
quite
up
a
and
bit.
down, doesn't it?
It does go up and
I
down.
don't really want it,
Yeah.
honestly. Just
It's
more weight.
nostalgia for me. I haven't used it for years.
But it's fun to have it. Like, I'm glad I got the Porter one. It's small,
Yeah.
and I'm glad I'm using a video of it.
Yeah,
For this
exactly.
thing.
I've sold off a lot of things, but I've tried not to sell anything that actually makes a sound. There's only been one or two synths that I sold.
Like what
Like
is-
I'll sell off controllers or stands. Or
Do you use them, though, the things that make a sound? You don't. You use the software, digital versions.
more and more, for sure. For sure. Because it's just so much of it is about speed and then traveling. Because a lot of times I got to put it on a laptop and then run to LA and work down there with my friends down there. And I got to pull it up the same sound. I don't want to.
What's your opinion about this whole analog versus digital thing?
I've never had a strong one. Well, my thought is, I think most people can't tell the difference anyway.
I can't.
Right? I mean, and then there's, I'd say half the people that claim they can are faking it because they want to
But
be
you
cool.
can, though, right?
A little bit, but not
Because
not
I remember
mixed
just
in
about a
song,
year ago,
you know?
you gave me a speech, and because I was taking that, nobody can tell. And you said, no, I have these big monitors, and I can tell. And then I think there was an example where
Well,
you
I think we were
proved
talking
yourself.
about like audio quality, like MP3s versus full wave files and stuff.
Dum, come here. That's what happens when you do a podcast in a backyard.
Exactly.
It's a soundtrack. I'm not even going to edit this out.
Yeah, might as well.
Why would I edit it out?
Sorry, our neighbors are home with their dogs.
create work for myself.
They've been gone most
Come
of
here.
the summer, but they're back now.
Come here, dum-dum. Oh. You can pick up dogs by their skin.
By the scruff. That's
Yeah.
good.
I think it would be fine if I could grab a person by the back of the neck and their skin, it probably would do it. You've seen those people that hang by their with hooks in
Exactly.
their back skin.
Yeah,
Yeah, you can probably do it.
you could probably do
You
it
could probably do it.
if you build up the tolerance.
Yeah, but who has hands big enough to do that?
No.
If you're big enough to pick up somebody by the skin of their back
Yeah,
and they have loose enough skin,
right.
see, this is this is something I want to see.
This is going to get us into a second hour.
No, see, but this is something I want to see. If you see a person who was formerly fat,
Yeah,
they lost a bunch of weight, so they have a bunch of extra skin, and they're short,
yeah.
right? So this is how that would work. You'd have a shorter person, say 5'2". They used to be 300 pounds. They lost all the weight. Then you get a 6'5" guy, and he can pick her up, and he's huge. He can just pick her up by the skin.
That'd be awesome.
I want to see that.
That's a TV show right there.
I just want to see somebody do that. See, now if we're this the Howard Stern show, be a few phone calls away, you know. You can say we need a formerly fat midget. You can't say that word.
You're right.
But you know what I'm talking about. Little person.
Yes.
A person with whatever syndrome that is.
Right.
We need them to come down to do this. Execute it. Anyway. So, what are we at? 126. That's about it. That's 1.5 hours. I think we don't need to go for a marathon here, do we?
I guess not. I'm
You got anything you
I'm
wanna
sure
add?
we could. People should know you directed our videos. Those 2 videos and how much fun we had doing those.
I had a lot of fun doing those.
You should just throw them up on your Facebook.
But see, that's a fun thing to talk about. You're a perfect example. I can prove to the world. I talk about how I sabotage things by getting all nitpicky on things like that. I do that with even videos. Like somebody does a video, I don't want to sign a fucking contract.
Yeah.
Why does it say this? I'm cross. I make everything more difficult than it needs to be because I want it to be goddamn simple.
Yeah.
And it isn't. If you get into the business world, you are going to have to figure out how to take phone calls from lawyers and managers, and I don't want to.
Yeah.
What's my problem? Why can you do that? Why can't I?
It's to me, it's the trade-off.
Yeah.
It's like, what am I getting out of this? And also knowing the intent of like certain things, with certain contracts with smaller companies, I know these people, and what is it saying? If it's what we agreed to, what do I care?
But see, at the same time...
If I'm worried... Because remember, a lot of times, too, you just want to make sure it protects you as much as them. But I don't have that... I can handle enough authority if I'm like, okay, this protects me, too. And it's just makes everybody know what's up.
Yeah.
And it's usually a 2-second thing, and I'm done with it. I have definitely read things and gone like, oh, change this, change that. We've had this conversation.
Yeah.
But I don't have as much of a visceral...
It's probably
it's
probably more self-sabotage than anything else. But because obligation is a real thing that creates a lot of stress for me.
Yeah.
Like as soon as I'm obligated, I just want to get it done over a handshake and go, it's going to get done.
Yeah.
But as soon as there's an obligation to get it done, then it's not as fun anymore.
I think maybe that's why I also don't have a problem with it. I work really well with deadlines and stuff.
Well, that's what I was just about to say.
I'm good at that. Like I think I do my best stuff. It's like
I need a deadline and accountability too.
Yeah, and so that it creates part of that. Like you will deliver something by. Like I just signed something for Warner Brothers. Something I got to deliver in the next. I've got till end of October. I'm like,
yeah, because
great.
If I don't have a deadline, I'm still going to do a lot of stuff. I produce a lot. I don't share a lot, but I make a lot.
Yeah.
I'm always creating and making things. So I don't need a deadline to actually create things. But to share things, yes.
But maybe it creates, because I know you've talked about, the frameworks. Sometimes even like, I'm going to share this creates a parameter.
Yeah.
And I might be more creative in it if I know an audience or what I'm doing. Because I love doing that. Like, hey, you're going to make this kind of music now. And it's fun to me, like, put on a costume. I'm going to pretend I'm country music guy on this one thing for a minute. Now I'm making this straight dance beat. And I really enjoy putting on the different, I wouldn't say costume, just suits.
Oh yeah, it's true, and that's all good stuff. And this podcast is honestly part of it is me just getting used to negative feedback.
Yeah.
Because I'm so tender and wussy about my music,
Okay.
that like when the times I've shared it, most of the stuff I shared was well received by the small audience to whom I released it, Facebook or whatever, and it was well received. But then I released one, and like even if it doesn't get a certain amount of reaction, I get really super insecure.
Okay,
I think I even texted you like, how long do I need to live this up before my heart breaks into a million pieces? Like, how do you deal with that? Like, when you really put your heart into something and then it's not well received, or there's just indifference about it.
Okay, that's something I've definitely thought about, because I make so much music.
Yeah.
That I don't get too precious about things.
Yeah, I'm way too precious.
Yeah, that'll slow you way down. It's like I want to do my best in that moment when I'm feeling that moment, and then when it's done, and I'm already looking to the next thing. Especially when you're putting records out and they don't come out for a month or two after you've finished it. I'm already on to 16 other things.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, that record's coming out.
And that was like that when I was in my Flickr photography heydays. I was just pushing stuff out the door. Same thing. So yeah, I just got to work up the nerve and the method to release them, and I want to just use the cassette tape, simple recording, just a guy on a piano, because if I give myself too many options, I'm not good with it. Like if I start flushing out the full production of a song, I can polish a turd endlessly.
Yeah.
For the rest of my life. And then it just and the more time I spend polishing it, the less likely I'm going to feel good about it.
Right.
Because the more time I've had to think.
See, that's where deadlines come in.
Yeah.
Because then I'm just like, I guess I'm done.
Yeah.
This needs to be done.
That's why
now.
I think I'm going to start Music Mondays and just have to put out a song every Monday.
Yeah.
And then like maybe the first of each month do a video. But one song a week. I write songs almost every day, so I figure the best song of the week or the most recent song of the week, and then whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't get that precious, and that doesn't mean I'm not looking for the quality or not spending the time.
Yeah.
But not like, what will people think? It's like, I don't know. I got 6 other things waiting now.
It's good to
just
be busy,
keep going.
right?
Yeah,
because if you're not busy, then you just start scrolling
I'm at my
comments
worst
and
when
shit. That's the worst thing you could possibly ever do, is try to engage with a comment section.
Exactly.
Any of them. Yeah. No offense to some of my good commenters, but my Lord, that's it's not a rewarding endeavor.
No.
If you're spending too much time.
No, I don't engage with that hardly at all. Yeah. As you've noticed, you rarely ever see a comment from me.
No, you don't. Things. You're not super internety. You're right about that. You're not a super self-promoter. You just stick your head down and do good work.
I'm trying.
High five.
Whoopsh.
I think that's the end of this episode.
On a high five, that's always a good one to end.
Don't you think? It's a good way to end it?
Yeah, it's good.
Anyway, thanks, John Hancock, for having this nice conversation in your backyard.
Mr. Merkley.
I'm kind of bummed that a deer didn't show up.
I know. It'll probably happen as soon as...
But we did have barking dogs.
We did.
So that's good. And to everybody that's listening, thanks for listening.